Our Across the Aisle segment tonight. Liberals are renewing calls for an investigation into collusion between President Trump and Russia. This comes after a report from the New York Times alleges that Donald Trump Jr. met with a Russian lawyer after being offered damaging information on Hillary Clinton. With me now, former Georgia State Representative, Democratic strategist, LaDawn Jones. LaDawn, good to see you.
Having me, Liz.
All right, LaDawn, Democrats, I think everyone, first of all, everyone thinks that this is a little bit of a gray area. This is a little bit of a sketchy occurrence here, but calls for treason. I mean, that's pretty extreme right off the bat, don't you think?
Well, someone has to make a call for something urgent. I am so surprised that Republicans are just sitting back like this is not a big deal at all. I mean, even if you love Trump, even if you believe that he's a businessman and not a politician, use your common sense. These numbers are adding up. And something isn't right. He hasn't been forthcoming with the American public.
Listen, I mean, we talked about this earlier in the show with Trump's former campaign manager, Corey Lewandowski, and I actually agree with you. I think that this was an unwise decision by Donald Trump Jr. I don't defend what he did. I do think there's an important distinction to be made between an unwise decision or even something that's ethically in the gray area versus something that's criminal or something that's treasonous. And that's the evidence I'm not sure Democrats have. I mean, is there evidence of treason here?
You know, I don't know if it goes as far as treason. I don't even know if we have to get there. I mean, frankly, they lied to us. It was a lie of omission. We've been talking about this for 10 months, and not until the media breaks the story do you not come out. It makes us wonder if you would be willing to do treason. And that's why it's up to the Republicans to say this is unacceptable.
Wait a second. What's the lie? What lie has been told?
Well, when asked for the last several months, have you all colluded? Have you all in the Trump campaign worked with the Republicans as it relates to hacking emails? Donald Trump Jr. said no. Maybe I might have talked to a Russian, but now we find out months later that he had an entire email chain setting up a meeting that was specifically about Russians and Clinton. He just released.
Wait a second. That doesn't have anything to do. That doesn't have anything to do with colluding to hack Hillary Clinton or John Podesta's emails, though. I mean, I read the email chain. I'm sure you did as well. Don Jr. posted it on his Twitter account. The only thing in that email that should put up a red flag, in that email chain that should put up a red flag, was the line from the person he was communicating with that said, this is in Russia's interest. They want to get your dad elected. But other than that red flag, for me, that would have put up a red flag that says, oh, I don't want a foreign nation trying to influence our elections. No, thank you. But that's not evidence that the Trump campaign or the Trump family ever in any way directed or colluded with the Russians on hacking John Podesta or Hillary Clinton.
For me, it is evidence. For me, what it says is when we've been talking about this, instead of coming out and saying, no, we didn't collude with them, but let me tell you about a very important discussion that we had last June where my campaign manager, my son-in-law, and my namesake were all in a room talking about this, and the topic came up. Let me share this with you now so we can show you that we weren't colluding. Let's not wait until the media comes out. That's a huge red flag.
LaDawn, you're an attorney. You know that that's not evidence. I agree with you. It's a red flag. I disagree with the decision that Don Jr. made. I would have said no to it. I don't think that that was a wise decision for this exact reason, because when it comes up, it appears to be a bigger deal than it might be. We don't have all the evidence, so I'm not going to sit here and pretend to draw a conclusion. But of the evidence that we have, you know that one line in an email is not evidence. In fact, I would argue that it's evidence that there wasn't collusion between the Trump campaign and Russia, because why would you have that conversation if you were part of coordinating hacking and already had the information anyway?
Overall, I think that Republicans are going to have to take responsibility for saying, can we trust Donald Trump's judgment as it relates to the Russians? Most recently, his meeting with the Russians lets us know we might really need to hold his feet to the fire, because clearly he does not see things wrong that we really should not allow in this country. Allowing a foreign country to get involved with our election process is the most unnational, un-American thing anyone could do.
Wait a second. You have a problem with President Trump meeting with Vladimir Putin at the G20 summit?
I have a problem with when he came out of the G20 summit, he suggested some type of joint cybersecurity provisions with Russia. Not until
no, he didn't. He
Republicans
said that he discussed that. He said he discussed that, and then he clarified and said, just because I discussed that doesn't mean I think it would work. It wouldn't work, but here's what we actually accomplished. I mean, you're picking apart things here that I think don't need to be read into that much. You've read Donald Trump's tweets enough to know not to parse into them too deeply here on their meaning. I mean, what I'm looking for is evidence. It seems to me that the Democrats are still using this as a diversion. Perhaps it was unwise of Don Jr. to have this email chain or have that meeting. Nothing came of it. Opposition research, you know this, you've been worked in politics. Opposition research is a sketchy business. If we looked at the opposition research firm that created that debunked dossier on Donald Trump, Fusion GPS, do you think that every little thing that they did was above board? Do you think that every person who they communicated with in the Hillary campaign made sure that there was nothing sketchy going on? No. That doesn't make it right, but it does make it a double standard to hold the Trump campaign accountable, but not the Democrats accountable.
Well, we chose Hillary, so we'll hold ourselves accountable for her. But right now, Donald Trump is in office, and so you all chose him, and you have to hold his feet to the fire. Please use your common sense and don't be blind to things that clearly are inappropriate, because we're going down a slippery slope if we just start to buddy up with Russia.
Listen, I'm open. If you have evidence, please share it with me. But I've heard every intelligence chief who's been under oath in Congress say they have no evidence of collusion, no evidence of construction or of corruption, no evidence of obstruction of justice. James Comey said there was no material collusion between Trump people and Russian people. That's the evidence that I need. If you have a smoking gun, believe me, even though I voted for Donald Trump, I'll be the first to hold his feet for the fire, because you're right. If there's collusion, it's wrong. It's a danger to our democracy, but there's no evidence at this point. And until then, I mean, I'll look into it, but I'm not going to accept something where there's no evidence. LaDawn, I appreciate you coming on the show. Thanks for being here.